At this point, our program does really almost everything that we need it to do. Okay, haven't coded C yet, but that's okay. C is just either a logical operator, or we can use a nested if. So we can go ahead and fill that in. Everything else works okay. One slight little problem, and here's my problem. 99% of my output, 99% of what I want to do, is going to be taken care of with all of these, with our string gear equals Corvette or bicycle or shoes or hot air balloon or whatever. That's all taken care of. We have one special circumstance, kind of the oddball, and that's this guy right here. String gear equals crash. Well, that's not gear. That's actually something that's going to happen. So what we want to do is I'm just going to take this message box right here, and we're going to take that message box and we're going to change it, and it's going to say string gear equals crash. No, we'll say you will crash. Let this be a nice big warning. You will crash. Okay, so now the way we've got our program running, that no matter what happens, we're going to get both message boxes. Okay, we're going to get one that says where you're traveling and your speed, and then we get another one that says you will crash. Well, obviously we don't want that. How do we choose between the two message boxes? Yep, we're just going to need an if statement. So I'm going to say if, and right now I'll just do 1 is less than 100, and open curly, enter, and might as well throw an else in here, so we'll type in else, open curly, enter, there we go. So there's my basic if structure, and we're going to take this system, delete that, put that in my if, there we go, and take this and get rid of that. Alright, so now everything's kind of set up here, and we'll just throw this right in here. There we go. So really nothing has changed now, except this time we've got just this one message box is going to appear. Why? Because 1 is indeed less than 100. So we're always going to get this message box. We haven't changed anything at all, and that's fine. We haven't yet. So now what we want to do is let's go up at the top, and we're going to talk about this Boolean that we've declared. Well, you got to remember, a Boolean is just a data type. The Boolean that we've declared, variable name, is Boolean too slow. Okay, we could have called it anything we wanted to. We just called it too slow. Now what I want you to know, that whenever you declare a Boolean, it is automatically assigned the value of false. That's F-A-L-S-E. Okay, you don't have to assign it this value. It is automatically assigned, but boy, it sure does help to see that. Booleans are declared with a value of false. I also have this little comment here. A Boolean is also, or can be used as, what's called a flag. That's what we're going to use it as. And we're going to trip the flag. So here's how this works. We've got this Boolean too slow. It's got a value of false going into the program. It's a flag. So what we're going to do is we're going to go down to this one special circumstance, and we're just going to put a comment, trip the flag, and we'll say Boolean too slow, and we're going to set that equal to false. Okay, no, I'm sorry, it is false. We need to change that. We need to trip it. We need to set it to true. Okay, so now it started off as false, and it's going to remain false through our entire program unless we hit this one circumstance. The circumstance is if we are in the air, and if the speed is not greater than or equal to 11. That's the only circumstance. That's the only time that Boolean too slow is actually going to be changed to true. So now what we want to do, okay, so here's where we declared it, true or false. Here's where we tripped it. Okay, we tripped the flag, we set the flag, and then we're going to come down to the bottom, and we're going to look at this condition right here. Well, this condition is always going to be true. We actually want to put in Boolean too slow, and remember the double equals, because if we use a single equals, it's an assignment statement, equals true. Okay, so if Boolean too slow equals true. So now we're going to go ahead and compile, and we're going to run this. And we're going to put air, so we'll be traveling in the air. And let's go ahead, we're just going to go after our Tomcat. So we're going to enter a speed of 333, okay, 333. And we click OK, and you will crash. Well, that's some interesting output. Where'd that come from? Well, let's trace our code and find out. Okay, we come down here, okay, and right here's our Boolean too slow. It's set to false. We went to the air, okay, we went to, our speed was 333, which is greater than 300, so our string gear is Tomcat. We left all of our if statements. We came all the way down. We're now down to display output. And Boolean too slow, if, what this says, if Boolean too slow equals true. Well, what does Boolean too slow equal? This actually equals false, right? You know what equals false. Why? Because we never tripped a flag. This special circumstance didn't occur. So Boolean too slow is assigned as false. Since it's false, all this actually says is if false equals false. This becomes a false statement. Okay, so now we go down to the else if, you will crash. What we want to do, and here it comes, we want to negate. We want to not our result. And to not, all we're going to do is we'll just put inside parentheses, put exclamation point, which is called a bang, and we are going to, and the only reason I'm doing this, I just want to show you how to use a not. What this does is this negates the output. Okay, so what is true is false, is what is false is true. So now we're going to compile, we're going to run this, and we'll use the exact same user input as we did before. So we're going to be in the air, and we're going to click OK. We're going to click 333, click OK. That's our speed. And so now you are in the air traveling at 333 and need a tomcat. Okay, we knew that. What happened here, though, is that remember, Boolean too slow, this has a value of false. Since our speed was always greater than or equal to 11, this line of code was never executed. So Boolean too slow remains false the entire time. We get down to the bottom, if false equals true, which is a false statement, but we negated it. We made false as true, true as false. So now we've got this. So what does our Boolean do? Watch this now. When we compile, we're going to run it one more time. This time we're going to use a speed that is less than 11. So we're still in the air, and we'll click OK, and our speed is going to be 5. This time we get you will crash. Well, why did that work? Well, let's look at this. Boolean too slow again, that's false. Go into our code, this is false. We get to this line right here, we are in the air. Now our speed is less than or equal to 100. Okay, since this is true, or less than or equal to 100, that means all of this code is gone. We get down to our else doesn't check a condition, so it says Boolean too slow is true. Okay, so now we trip the flag, we set the flag. So then we get down here, and if we say if true equals true, well, this is a true statement, so this code should execute. However, we negated it. Okay, this is our last logical operator, the negation operator, the not operator. That turns trues into falses, falses into trues. Since this is true, this was true, Boolean too slow does equal true, it flips it and now equals false. So this code does not run right here. We go down to our else, we get Boolean too slow, you will crash. One last thing I want to show you or talk to you about really quick. This line of code is kind of silly. It's silly because this is like saying if heads equals heads. Now what we want to do, remember, too slow is a Boolean. Okay? If statements, they check Boolean values. So we don't need this equal sign. We don't need to check because Boolean too slow is either true or false. This right here has a value of true or false. That's what the if statement is actually operating on. And it actually makes it easier to read too, because if we compile and run this, and again, we're just going to do, we'll go to the air and we'll go 78 and 78. Okay, so what actually happens in here? Well, starting off at the top of code, the Boolean is false. Okay, that's its value, that's its starting value. We're in the air, we have 78. 78 is not greater than 100. 78 is greater than 30, so we need a prop plane. Okay, so that's how this is assigned. And notice that Boolean too slow is still false because it never got down to this else. So whenever we get down here, if false, because that's what this is, if false, but we negated it, if true. So our false became a true. That's how this line of code executed. And now you know about flags, Booleans, and negation.